Welcome to the collection of the wildest and craziest AITA Reddit stories of all time. From wild betrayals to shocking twists, these tales will leave you questioning who is really in the wrong. Let's dive in together. The first story for this collection is from fragrant_position 179. AITA for overreacting when I yelled at my mom to stop laughing at me when I was trying to practice my instrument. I live by myself with no partner or roommate. My mom and brother are staying over at my house for a week because it was my mother's birthday and she wanted to. Anyway, I wanted to start a new hobby because every day I come home from work, bored with nothing to do, then scroll on my phone on various social media apps. I already play piano, so I was thinking I should try playing another instrument. I chose to play a brass instrument, and one of my dad's friends actually had a BB trumpet, so he gave it to me. I don't have any experience on playing it at all, but decided why not to just try it. I got the trumpet a few weeks ago, and I am just watching tutorials on YouTube. What I am trying to play is Hot Cross Buns. Yes, it is one of the easiest songs ever to play, but I have trouble making a buzz with my lips. I have watched many videos, and I am still very confused. By the way, if anyone can explain how to, that would be great. I practice every single day, 10 minutes of trumpet and around 30 minutes of piano. So today was the day before my mom's birthday, and she came over in the morning with my brother. My dad is actually a music teacher, and when I was little, he taught me piano. But then I started college and had no time to focus on piano. But after I graduated, I started to practice again. Anyway, around like 6 or 7 p.m., I opened my trumpet case and took it out. The moment I started playing it, I heard laughter. It was my mom. I tried to ignore it because we always joked about how bad I sound, but I actually was trying this time, so it really bothered me. A couple minutes later, my mom burst into my room with my grandma on call. I looked at my mom trying to not freak out right there and there, because who knows, maybe she came into my room to ask me to talk with my grandma, which I have no problem to. But what everyone guessed, she started laughing and giggling crazily. My grandma wasn't really laughing at all. She just listened to my mom laugh. I then asked her, "What's so funny?" And then she started to point at my instrument and proceed to say how bad I sounded like. After she insulted me, I tried telling her politely that I'm actually trying and please stop making fun of me. She just looked at me with a grin of unseriousness, which made me very annoyed. She then started talking to my grandma of how badly I sounded like and started telling me how it sounded like a fart from my brother. I then couldn't hold back and started telling her how I didn't like what she was saying and how I found it really rude of how she humiliated me on call with my grandma. She was a little stunned because she thought I was going to laugh with her. She then realized what I was saying and said I always laugh at what she does, which I don't. I tell her if she is doing something wrong or rude, but I don't necessarily laugh and embarrass her over and over. We kind of went back and forth until I put away my trumpet and said I wasn't going to play anymore today. She does encourage me to play, but she then just left my room with the same annoying grin as a popular high school girl who just told someone's crush they liked them. I then just laid in my bed, doom scrolled on some characters edits on TikTok, and tried to forget about the situation. A little bit after that, I went to go practice piano since I felt like it. After maybe 5 minutes of me practicing, my mom again came and tried to talk to me. She tried to say, I was just laughing at how the instrument sounds blah blah blah. Piano sounds nothing like a trumpet, so I was just laughing at that blah blah blah. I then just gave her a look like, really? And then she proceeded to say, oh my gosh, you're overreacting. I was just teasing. You need to get a hold of yourself and realize that nobody will like you if you can't take a little bit of laughing. I gave up at that point. I looked down, sighed, closed my piano book, and walked to my room while my mom kept yelling my name to respond to what she said. But I had enough. If she was going to just disrespect me and my wishes, then what would be the point? Luckily, she left me alone so I could calm down and not immediately start yelling at her. 30 minutes after, my brother came to my house since he works pretty late. I was already in my bed, pretending to sleep, because I could not just go talk normally with my mom after what she said. Also, my brother plays piano and trombone, so he knows a little bit about music knowledge. I couldn't really hear what my mom and brother were talking about, but I wasn't asleep and was just on my phone still. After a while, I heard my brother yell out my name calmly, and I just went into the living room, where I found my mom and brother. My brother just asked about my day, and he is just a very talkative person, so he always likes to ask icebreakers or questions like these. After I chatted with him, not looking at my mom one bit, my mom started to talk about how she called my dad, and he said something about playing sloppy was normal, and not sounding good is fine. I couldn't take it anymore. I just told my mom, hell no, I'm not doing this again. and went to my room. I was even more mad than before, so I really wanted to punch or let my frustration out somehow, but I couldn't at 11 p.m. The next day, she went to go visit some of her friends since I lived near them. My brother went to work again, and I'm now all alone in my house, so please, someone tell me if I am overreacting or what. I am not a very sensitive person, but I am very self-aware and absolutely hate when anyone bring down me or anyone. I don't have a close bond with any of my family nor any of my friends. I don't want to go into too much depth in why, but a little bit, is that my parents, brother, and cousin joked about me having depression and insomnia, which I had, and I was in a state where I felt lonely as hell with no one to talk to. They honestly joked about a lot of my mental problems. Some examples are joking about how I have no friends and being lonely, saying I'm dating my guy friends after I kept saying that I'm not, and was really frustrated with everyone telling me that, saying I dressed up horribly after I was trying to express myself, always telling me my brother will be better than me in everything I do and that I suck, and a bunch more things. I'm doing all right now. I don't have many friends. I am mostly alone, just going to my job, making money, and watching social media. So, yeah, I'd love to hear what other people think. OP is not an AH, nor did she overreact. Rather, OP's mom is an AH for making fun of OP and belittling her feeling serious conditions like depression and loneliness. OP's mom is really a cruel lady who doesn't even feel empathy for her own daughter. As for OP, her reaction is 100% justified, and she is not an AH, and I would rate her 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. As for OP's mom, I would rate her 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump on to the next story from Throwaway09. AITA for making my husband's groomswoman wear a wig or be disinvited from our wedding. To give a little background, I met him at a farmer's market when I was 18, and he was 26. We are now 24F and 32M. We've been together for a little bit over 5 years, and I'm very happy with him. Now, to the story. My fiance's friend, Brittany, has been friends with him since they were in elementary school. Throughout our early dating days, I expressed I was not a fan of this woman. There are many reasons as to why, such as us not having common interests and absolutely polar opposite moral codes. But the main one was her interest in embarrassing me and my fiance, possibly because she likes him. When we were first starting to go on dates, she had shown up and tried to invite herself to the date because he had told their mutual friend group chat where he was taking me. She then decided that she would go to the same restaurant and had tried to make a scene about him cheating on her and that she was heartbroken. It escalated very quickly, and it ended with me asking the manager to get her trespassed, as she was delusional, and I, nor my date, did not want her around. This sort of situation happened 3 more times, even going as far as showing up to his grandparents' house to stop me from meeting his family. At that point, I made it clear to him that if anything like that were to happen again, I'd be out of there, which he completely understood and agreed with me, wholeheartedly. He convinced his friend group to go low communication about Brittany with him because she was acting weird around him, and they all understood and disagreed with her actions. He had extremely low contact after that point, and I learned years later that she had gotten major therapy, even checked herself into a mental hospital, and went on medication to stop these absolutely unhinged personality traits. Around 4 years later, they reconnected through a mutual friend's birthday party we were all at, and she genuinely seemed like she had changed personality-wise from the person I had met 5-ish years ago. We still didn't agree on most things, but she apologized for the way she had acted previously and owned up to all the BS she tried to pull with him. So, I just kept my guard up, but encouraged my fiancé to make friends with her again. I'm not friends with her, but I am friendly towards her. Skipping to now, I have been planning this wedding basically since I was born, over-exaggerating, but it has been in my thoughts since I was a young child. The wedding will not happen for another 2 years. The theme is supposed to be similar to D&D-style fantasy. A Renaissance wedding with blue, orange, and red as the basic color scheme. Most of the wedding would be held outside at a local state park, but part of it would be held inside. Specifically, the cake and food would be cut and served inside, as well as some of the guest photos. This is the important part. I have a personal friend, Bree, 28F, who does professional pictures at Renaissance festivals across the US. Her job is to drive around across the country to Ren fairs and take pictures for certain venues. It's a very cool job and I love seeing the pictures. However, she does edit for some of these venues with a green screen to make it look more aesthetic, or to totally change the scenery behind the people in the photo. For example, She showed me mock-ups for me in the past, showing silly people in costumes being chased by goblins and trolls, a dragon breathing fire behind a party of knights, and even a garden of lights with fairies flying through it, etc. It's silly stuff and is for people to have fun with. My idea was to incorporate this into my wedding. The guests would choose whatever background they'd like from a catalog that my friend and I put together, and Bree or her teammate would take pictures of them throughout the day. These pictures would be uploaded electronically and then be edited by her after the wedding. These were mandatory for all guests that wanted to participate, so I could use the pictures for postcards and scrapbooking. It's my hobby. The people who wanted to take part in this activity would have to check a box on the Save the Date form I sent out. My assumption is that most guests would be doing this, as most of the people that will be invited are extremely rambunctious and love activities involving being silly. I do want to make it clear, these would not be the only pictures taken at the wedding. There still would be normal pictures being taken of the wedding itself, as well as photos that will likely be framed and used as decorations that would have no green screen of my husband and I, and the wedding party. A few days after he had proposed, my fiancé asked me if I'd feel comfortable with him inviting Brittany to the wedding as a groomswoman. Honestly, I was fine with it, until the topic of her hair came up. In the year or so that he had reconnected, she cut and dyed her hair a lime green with a cool undertone and highlights. I honestly really like it, and it suits her facial structure extremely well. However, I was worried about the green screen and her hair, so I invited her to my friend's home a while later so we could see if the screen would blend with her hair. Unfortunately, it did. In the pictures, you could see a major glitch with every background we tried because of her hair. I asked my friend if there was a way to edit around it, and she said there was, but it would be an extra amount of money because it would be way more time to go through and possibly edit multiple photos of her with groups of people and herself, so the picture wouldn't glitch. I'm very against this, as our budget has to be semi-perfect. We are accounting for accidents and issues, but not extra money to my friend's business because of one woman's choice of dye blending very well with the green screen. While I do love her hair, I asked if she'd wear a wig to the wedding so she could still be included in the green screen pictures. Even offered to get it professionally done, and I'd pay for that. This is when she became very angry with me. To sum up what she had said, her being asked to wear a wig was basically me saying I wanted to cover herself, that her hair was an expression of herself and that she loved it. I told her that I loved it as well, but in order for her to be included, she would need to wear a wig, as the green in her hair cannot just be covered up via a hat or other headwear. She has been saying that I just don't want to include her in the wedding. As a compromise against the wig, I proposed that she gets more pictures of her having fun taken at the wedding itself instead of the green screen. She didn't like this idea because she claims it isn't fair. All the other guests get to be put in a fun picture, and she's the only one not allowed. Though I sort of agree with her, it isn't to the fault of my own. So, I offered that she paid for the extra editing costs. It would be to take and edit more of her pictures. At first, she was fine with the idea, until I mentioned that the extra editing would cost around $100 for just a singular picture to be taken and edited by my friend, and the final price depended on how many photos she ended up in on the green screen. Then, she declined the offer and tried to throw it in my face that Bree's prices were outrageous. I disagreed with her sentiment about the prices, and I haven't spoken to her since then. Throughout this whole ordeal, my fiancé has been on my side, but he has been upset over her possibly not being there. While he does agree with me about not wanting to pay more for just her, as well as that she's being overdramatic, he has sympathy for her being the only person being left out of this choice activity. While I also have sympathy, I just don't see an alternative here. We can't use a blue screen over a green screen because the colors of the wedding are blue, red, and orange. And I don't wish to pay for a new screen for my friend's business just because of one person, and the alternatives I have come up with, she has shot down. So, my final decision was to ask him to disinvite her from the wedding to not create further drama if she does not want to wear a wig. After long talks between us, he agreed with me and sent her a message that she would be disinvited entirely and would be welcome to celebrate with just us after our honeymoon had ended. They met up soon afterwards and he stayed firm on the matter, despite her crying and still refusing to do anything to correct her hair. She still believes that me asking her to do this is because of some power imbalance and that I just want to bully her, which I don't think I'm doing. She has a year to think it over. I can tell this situation bothers him though, and I've addressed it a few times. All of the times I have, he says it is for the best, as she would just ruin the photos she was in with the green screen and could cost us to delete hundreds of pictures purely based on her actions. I agree, but it still bothers me that I'm doing something wrong, especially since after this incident, her mom and dad have reached out to me to scold me for abusing my power against their daughter on one of the biggest parties she's ever been invited to. Even my friends are split on the issue, all of them having sympathy for her, but some of them saying I'm an AH because I won't just let her come to the wedding and have someone to block her from taking any pictures with the green screen. And just to make sure the record is straight, I am not trying to force her to change her hair in any way. I do not want her to dye it differently, nor would I expect her to. I purely just want a non-green wig to be put on her head for the wedding, and then she can remove it afterwards. I would normally say that she could remove it after the green screen portion, but I'm still working out if I'm just going to let it stay up for the entire day of the wedding, or if I'm going to hold other activities for everyone, and have Bree close the photo stuff down. Again, wedding isn't for another 2 years, so I'm able to think it over for at least a year. AITA TL DR. My husband's groomswoman won't wear a wig for my wedding due to her believing it is her sense of pride. While I do like her hair, she could potentially ruin pictures of a green screen photo op activity I will be having at my wedding, costing us more than 1,000 USD for pictures I cannot use, and even more money if I got her photoshopped out or blended in with the background. All other alternatives given to her have been denied. This has caused my husband to give her an ultimatum, where he outlines that she will be uninvited if she does not agree to the terms within a year. Am I the AH for this? Update. I honestly didn't think I'd post an update at all this year because I mostly got the confirmation. I needed to know I was mostly correct in my assumption that she'd cause more drama at the wedding than necessary, and that I'd be correct in that I would be okay to disinvite her. I was trying to be detailed in that post, but in this one I'm going to be a little less detailed. Basically 3 days ago, I was sent my post on Messenger from Brittany. She is a notorious Reddit lurker apparently, and saw it a few hours after it was posted. It didn't even have to get multiple upvotes because she just reads the ones available on the recent category. I told her I posted because I had a lot of inner conflict towards my involvement with my fiancé choosing to disinvite her, if she can't just make some form of sacrifice to not be in the green screen, wear a wig, so she can be included. She got extremely mad at me, called me names, threatened that I'd be sued for defamation, etc. This honestly just made me realize how little she actually changed. Of course I showed my fiancé, and he was appalled at her actions. He said he was going to block her, and did so that day. And so did I. Yesterday, I woke up to 43 missed calls from a number I did not recognize. That ended up to be her, and a dozen voicemails claiming that I was stealing my fiancé away from her again, that I had purposefully targeted her for just wanting to be included with everyone else, and so on. I do not know how she got my number, but I obviously blocked it. After that, I reported her to the police on the non-emergency line because I didn't know if I would be needing to fear for my safety. I'm really glad I did this. After my fiancé had left for work, she showed up to our home and knocked on the door. I cracked a window near the door and asked what she wanted. She said, whilst crying, that I needed to let her in the house because it was her right to be with my fiancé, not me. She started kicking at the door, and I told her to knock it off. Immediately, I just started dialing the non-emergency police number for my nearest precinct because I already knew what was happening in that moment, and I was supposed to be clocking in for work on my computer at that moment. I texted my boss, and she excused my absence for the day as well. As I was doing this, I kept repeating, "Go away." I called the police, and I do not want you here. You are trespassing. She was saying all kinds of things I don't wish to repeat here. But the lesser of the things she was saying involved calling me a white racist pig. She is mixed race and so am I. Saying she was 8 months pregnant with my fiancé's baby. There's quite literally zero proof of this, including no baby bump, despite being a fairly thin woman. Screaming that she would take me to hell. Trying to break my metal outside door, but instead hurting herself instead. And so on. Basically, she had a full-on meltdown. The police came, saw that was trying to break my door down, and immediately put her in cuffs and sat her down. She was claiming this was her house and that she'd lived there for 10 years, that I had broken in and locked her out, etc. Of course, because of her psychotic appearance, I was questioned and once given the real story. As well as being able to provide proof that I was the owner of the home, she was taken to the police station. As far as I'm aware, she was booked for the night and was let go today. I did agree to a temporary no-contact order, and my fiance and I are going to proceed with a permanent one. Her parents called after they heard she was put in a holding cell and apologized profusely. Apparently, Brittany had lied to them about the extent of her actions and downplayed a lot of it. On the exterior, she seemed fine and well-rounded, but mentally, she had snapped again from not taking her meds for a year. She never told her parents this, just acted normally until one of her triggers came back, my fiancé. No, he didn't do anything wrong. She just had a major trigger when it came to him because of a deeply obsessive personality disorder. I wasn't trying to air her dirty laundry about her medical history the last post, but she was diagnosed with BPD and a large handful of disorders caused by trauma she had endured in her childhood from her great-grandfather. She's an unhealthy person, and I regret even allowing her to have the notion that we had forgiven her for her past. I'm pretty shaken from this ordeal, and I can't believe this was all because of a goddamn green screen and some pictures that were supposed to just be treated as silly holiday cards for my foreseeable future. This is making me rethink the idea altogether, to be completely honest. Maybe I'll just rent an adult bouncy house because that seems more fun than green screen professional photography. Anyways, that's the update. Thanks for reading and the advice I was given in the last post. OP is not an AH because she tried to offer reasonable solutions to include Brittany in the wedding despite her toxic behavior in the past, but it was Brittany who didn't accept any of offers OP gave to her, so here OP did nothing wrong here. As for scores, I would rate OP 0 and Brittany 2.5 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump onto the next story, lost_boysenberry_506. AITA for telling my sister-in-law no to seeing her for Christmas? I, 24F, and my sister-in-law, 34F, let's call her Stacy, don't get along to say the least. We haven't actually gotten in any fights and I don't typically stand up for myself. For a little bit of context, she married my brother almost 10 years ago, when I was 14. My parents have said that they were skeptical about her marrying my brother because of the way she behaved in front of our family members and friends. She is snippy, disrespectful, rude, and overall isn't great at maintaining meaningful relationships. She comes from a family where they struggle with social cues and come across as rude. Ever since she married into the family, it felt like she targeted me. I'm the youngest of 4 and the only girl. She and my brother lived in my parents' basement while they saved up money for medical school. She would always linger on the main floor. When I'd come home from school, I'd make myself an after-school snack, and she would immediately come into the kitchen asking, "Are you sure you should be eating that?" and rude comments like this. There are many more instances, but I want to get to the main point. My brother enlisted in the army for medical school and is gone a ton. She lived in Hawaii on base with their 2 kids, but when she discovered she was pregnant, she guilt-tripped my parents into letting her stay at their house while she had the baby. They agreed, but she never gave a firm time estimate on when she'd head back, so yes, the army was paying for their life in Hawaii, but she was getting taken care of by my parents. Long story short, she stayed with my parents for a full year, until the army had them move to Texas. She has a track record of moving in with my parents and staying with them every time she's pregnant. The problem is that she doesn't do anything to watch the kids, clean up after them, and is entitled to everything in the house, including my husband and I, who were renting their basement apartment. I lost my job that summer and was interviewing for different companies. She would allow her kids to stomp above us, knock on our windows, and scream at the top of the stairs during my interviews. I politely gave her a schedule a week ahead with future interviews, and she would magically forget about them. There are many other instances, but the biggest one is that she would call me randomly throughout the day to tell me she was sending the kids down to me because she had to run errands. She'd be gone for hours on end and come back with a couple grocery bags. She felt entitled to our time. Every weekend, she'd conveniently be busy and need babysitters, but when we'd have plans, have homework studying, or be out of town, she'd throw the biggest fit. She doesn't take the answer no very well. She only talked to us when she needed a baby sister, me to make her a cake for her birthday, or to entertain her. She views relationships with others as very transactional. Anyone who has relationships like this can understand how draining this feels. Anyways, my husband and I saved up money to move an hour away and bought our very first home. We were over the moon because we worked incredibly hard to get to this point. Last Christmas, my siblings all wanted to come up and see our house. Stacy was kind to us but ignored her kids. She does this often. Her kids were absolute nightmares, but every time you'd go to say something to correct them, she'd shoot you a nasty look or not back you up. We felt on edge that whole night. It felt disrespectful to us and our space. After Christmas, she moved to Texas with my brother for their next assignment. She threw the biggest fit over it and called my mom daily to complain about her life, how naughty her kids were, etc. I apologize. I felt that all that backstory was necessary. But not onto the main reason for me writing this post. All the siblings do alternate Christmases, Thanksgivings. This year, we have Thanksgiving with my family, and Christmas will be spent with my husband's family. His parents are divorced, so we have even more troubles navigating the holidays as is. Stacy texted us last Friday out of the blue, asking us what our plans are for Christmas, New Year's. I told her we didn't have plans yet, but we're waiting on my husband's family to tell us their plans, and that my husband's brother and his wife are having their twins around Christmas, so we want to be there for that. She didn't take that answer and still persisted. I finally said, I'm not entirely sure on dates. I don't feel comfortable making solid plans until we hear more from my husband's family. This might seem innocent from her, but she never messages us unless she needs something from us. Get-together are never just that. It's an excuse for someone to watch her kids. She didn't like my response and ended up going to my mom about it, saying that I bullied her. Not to sound rude, but because of the alternating Christmases, she is not a huge priority to make time for her. It's my husband's family's year, and we'll be out of town visiting them. Also, because of her attitude and mistreatment towards me and my husband over the years, I feel less inclined to give her time during the happiest time of the year. I'd much rather spend it with those who treat us with kindness and respect, and with those we are closest to. Edit. Hi Stacy. I wanted to clarify something about our Christmas plans. We alternate each year, and this year it's our turn to be with husband's family. I'm sorry if I didn't give you a firm answer before, but we're just finalizing dates with them. I hope you can understand that this isn't about not wanting to be around you or the family. It's simply how we balance the holidays. I'd also appreciate if we could keep communication between us about plans going forward, rather than involving others. Thanks for understanding. AITA? OP is not an age for setting boundaries with her toxic and dramatic sister-in-law. Rather, OP's sister-in-law's is an age for being too much demanding, overreacting, and accusing OP of bullying her, especially when OP simply said no, for which she has every right. So, instead of OP's sister-in-law is an AH, and I would rate her 3.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets nothing. Let's now jump onto the last story for this video from ThrowRA 32737. Wibta. If I stopped being as supportive about my BF's depression, as it's making me empty myself. My BF, 28M, and I, 28F, have been dating for 3 months. When we met, he was the most energetic person ever. We would text into the night till like 4 a.m. He was constantly horny. We'd have fun nights. He seemed super into me. He was the kind of guy who would blow up my phone constantly and make me feel so good about myself. The thing is, the timing of when we got together is exactly around the time he quit his job BC. He hated it. He'd never been unemployed before, as he'd been with them for ages, and he didn't start looking for another one. He told me he has depression, and it's always been there, but that having no job is making him feel like a failure. And he's struggling to be motivated since leaving his job, as although he hated it, he had a purpose and friends. So, since we've been together, he's went from being really happy and flirty and into me to somebody who barely acts like they want me around. I wait hours for a text back. I never get time. If I do, I feel like he's faking it for me. He never asks for my body anymore or touches me. He doesn't compliment me. It's like we've been together 50 years, and the excitement is over when it's only been 3 months. He plays video games all day with his friends on calls, lasting like 6 hours, and doesn't text me. If we do text, it's really short, and me trying to talk, and him having one-word answers. This has been going on a while, and at the start I have tried to let it slide, but it was such a change that obviously it fed into my insecurities. Now that he has me, he just stopped making effort. Was it all fake? Has he got another girl and this is just lies? Does he not care anymore? So, I'm trying not to let this be about me, but I have never felt so and unloved. I look at him and think, how come you have the energy to be happy around your friends and spend hours using that energy with them, but can't with me? Which is why I'm taking it personal, I guess. I can't believe the switch that has happened. It used to be me asking him to stop asking for as I don't do that, and him begging, us talking dirty on the phone every night, and him always asking to see me, just being super eager to literally silence every day. I tried bringing this up with him, And he just made me feel so bad, as he said he hasn't felt like himself and doesn't feel himself. Which I understand, but for months straight, you haven't been attracted to me or in the mood at all? As well, the thing is, I try and do everything I can for him. I buy him food and get it sent to his house for support. I even bought him new games. I always send texts even if I don't get them back. I put thought into things and searched the internet to work out how to play one of his games and offered to play with him saying I'd learned, and he thought it was sweet. But he doesn't do anything back for me, not even small things. I'm working full-time and a student, and he's never once offered to help me out or got me a surprise. Flowers, chocolates, etc. I just want to feel good about myself too. I really feel awful making this post because obviously it sounds like it's about me, but I promise I'm not like this with him. He doesn't know I feel this badly about it. Every time I bring it up, he just says he's not feeling himself and it will be fine soon once he has a job. But this has been over 2 months now. And when we're together, he sleeps constantly, like for 12 hours straight, and does seem so unmotivated. He only wants to hug together in bed and not go outside or do anything. I want to be supportive and I want to be there for him, but it's making me feel so empty. I feel so unattractive and I don't know how to stop this feeling. I don't know what to do. I feel like he should be trying more to find jobs and make effort. This is where I don't know if I'm the bad person. I feel like really was happy with me, he'd put more effort to helping himself, like going to therapy or going on meds or getting a job, to at least make effort and try. Surely if you met this amazing person and thought this, you couldn't change how you felt, but you'd at least make effort? Am I being horrible here? Would I be horrible for saying this? I don't understand how if you've always been affected by this, you did have the energy to show you were into me before we dated, and now that we are, it's just as if I'm not even important. Or is this something I need to stop feeling and just keep being supportive to him? I will do this if people tell me I'm being rude. I have no idea if I need to understand his situation more and keep being nice about it, because I don't know. I want to be there for him. I just don't know what to do. OP's is not an AH for her feelings as they are completely natural and normal. Here, OP's boyfriend is an AH for not putting any effort in the relationship and being obsessed with videos games and just doing nothing. I understand he is depressed, but neglecting it is not an option. He must go for a therapy or find other ways to put an end to it. Whatever, OP's boyfriend is an AH for not making any efforts in the relationship. And I would rate him 2.5 out of 5 on the AH scale, and OP gets nothing. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.